In 2010, 3 boys, the Skelton brothers, disappeared after spending Thanksgiving with their father and still have not been located till this day. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to my channel and Killer Concepts, the place where we talk about all things true crime. My name is Peyton. Please make sure to hit that red subscribe button down below and turn on your post notifications so you do not miss any future content. Today we are discussing something that is a little out of the norm for my channel. You may have noticed if you have been following my videos for a while, but we typically don't talk about children here much. The topic of children and the things that people can do to them just really gets to me, and so I stray away from it. Today we are going to change this, and we are going to talk about 3 young boys who disappeared after spending Thanksgiving with their father in 2010 in Morenci, Michigan. These boys were 9-year-old Andrew Skelton, 7-year-old Alexander Skelton, and 5-year-old Tanner Skelton. This one has a lot of sources. I will not be directly calling all of them out, so please make sure to check them all out down below in the description box. With all of that being said, let's get started. So on the morning of Friday, November 26th, 2010, a woman by the name of Tanya Zevers was waiting to pick up her 3 sons, Andrew 9, Alexander 7, and Tanner 5, from their father, John Skelton. Tanya had let her ex-husband, John, take the 3 boys over the Thanksgiving holiday after much needling from him. I have also read that this was a court-ordered visit, so I'm not quite sure which one is 100% accurate. Both are very reliable sources, so maybe it's a little bit of both, I'm just not sure. At the time, the 2 of them were trying to work out custody agreements because their divorce was still so new. Newsweek stated that a month before the brothers disappeared, John filed for custody after accusing Tanya of being a registered sex offender. Apparently in 1997, she pled guilty to 4th-degree criminal sexual conduct for having sex with a 14-year-old boy. She had repeatedly denied doing anything inappropriate with her own sons, and investigations showed no signs of abuse. The boys were apparently excited to go shopping for fan gear for a local high school football game that their entire family was going to, but Tanya would stop hearing from John in the afternoon regarding the boys' pickup. Tanya would try and call John to arrange the pickup, but she wouldn't hear back from him. This would prompt her to go to his house. He didn't answer the door, and so she would have to call the police. The police would arrive, and when they went into his home, it was a complete mess. Tanya would tell Missing Kids, quote, "He completely destroyed the inside of his house. If it could be broken, it was broken. If it could be cut, it'd been cut," end quote. A rope from John's suicide attempt was hanging from a stairwell banister, and they also located multiple toe straps. Obviously, this scene in the home, as well as not hearing from John or the children, would start raising huge alarm bells for everyone involved. Tanya would find out that John was in the hospital with a broken ankle. So how did he sustain the broken ankle? John would tell the hospital that he was injured after attempting a suicide from hanging. He had reportedly fell from a rope around the 2nd floor banister of his home earlier that day. So where were the boys if John was in the hospital? They knew something was very wrong, and an Amber Alert would go out to try and find the 3 boys. The Charlie Project reported the last time anyone saw the boys besides John was at 5 p.m. on November 25th, the day before they were reported missing. When police would first meet with John, he would tell them that he gave the boys to a woman named Joan Taylor. He said he met this woman on the internet years before, and he had asked Joan to return the boys to Tanya. He would tell police that he did this because he had planned to commit suicide and did not want the boys there to see it. Joan apparently was married to a pastor named Mark, and drove either a white or silver minivan. The couple was said to have lived in either Hillsdale, Michigan, or Jackson County, Michigan. The police looked into this couple, but they could not find anything that verified they even existed. Due to this, the police thought John's story was made up and the children were in grave danger. They would start investigating the disappearance as a homicide, with John Skelton, the boy's father, being the prime suspect. Police would need to start looking into John's phone records. In the meantime, John was still in the hospital under a psych hold, but his whole story started really changing. Missing Kids reported that he first told investigators the boys were with friends. Then it was that he had given them to an unknown woman, and then it was that the children were handed off to an underground organization for safekeeping from their mother. His story wasn't consistent at all. Looking at the phone data, the police saw some interesting things. So around 4:30 a.m. on the morning of November 26th, the phone would start tracking from Morenci going southwest into Ohio. From around 5:01 to 5:04 a.m. was the last time the phone pinged before being turned off. This was around 20 miles away from Morenci and Holiday City, Ohio. Detective Lieutenant Jeremy Brewer with the Michigan State Police said it would only be turned back on at around 6:45 when John would return back to his home in Morenci. Tanya told Missing Kids, quote, "You can get on and off the Ohio Turnpike from there. It's lots of wooded area. That became an area of interest," end quote. Per Law and Crime, police and Zubbers said that just a few hours after the phone was turned back on, John Skelton would drive to a family member's home in the area saying that he needed a ride to the hospital. He would say he had broken his ankle. The three boys were not with him during this visit. With the phone records, as well as John's inconsistent stories, the search for the Skelton brothers would totally ramp up. The entire community would assist in the efforts. Tanya had lived in Morenci her whole life, so everyone knew the three young boys. The schools offered up some buses and would take members of the community out to search sites to try and locate Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner. Days of searching would pass by and there would still be no signs of the boys. This would make the police start suspecting foul play for sure on John's part, and a possibly terrible outcome, obviously, for the brothers. John would be arrested and charged for 3 counts of unlawful imprisonment of his sons while he was still in the hospital. The search wouldn't stop for the boys, but this would start the legal proceedings that would end up with John Skelton getting a 10 to 15 year prison sentence. More specifically, per Click on Detroit, September 15th, 2011, John Skelton would plead no contest to unlawful imprisonment. Fox 2 Detroit reported that this incident was not the first time John Skelton took the boys from Zubbers. He was accused of taking the boys out of school 2 months before their disappearance. He allegedly said he was taking them on a trip to Florida where his parents lived. The Charlie Project reports that Tanya had to go to Florida and get authorities to force John to send them back home to Michigan. The two were still married at this time, and this is what would prompt their divorce. The police had tried to talk to him more about the boys since he has been in prison, but he just doesn't seem very interested in talking. He did, however, come up with a new bizarre story of him giving the boys to an Amish reality TV star for safekeeping from his ex. Police would follow up on this, and yet again, it would yield no results. And according to Fox 2 Detroit, Tanya Zubbers, the boys' mother, said John Skelton previously claimed, quote, that the boys would hibernate until they graduate, end quote. All 3 of the boys are now way past the age of when they would have graduated, and still there is no sign of them. In 2020 and 2022, John Skelton would apply for parole, but would be denied as the parole board found him to be a risk to his community. This means he will remain in the Bellamy Creek Correctional Facility in Iona, Michigan until November 29th, 2025. If anyone has any information about the case or the whereabouts of the 3 boys, they are to call the Michigan State Police at 1-517-636-0689 or the NCMEC at 1-800-THE-LOST. There are age progression photographs of what the boys would look like if they were seen today. November 26, 2024 marked 14 years that the boys have been missing. Newsweek states that in December of 2023, Tanya Zubbers, their mother, urged the state to officially declare her sons dead. She had to file a petition in Runaway County Probate Court to have them legally declared dead. She posted on Facebook, quote, "This decision came after much thought and discussion with my family and friends. It did not come lightly and was definitely a difficult decision to make. No parent wants to lose a child, but to have the court step in and declare them deceased is just unfathomable. At the end of the day, one person is responsible for the disappearance of my sons. That person at one point claimed the boys would hibernate until they graduate. As of June 14th, 2024, all 3 boys are over 18 and all would have graduated high school, yet they have not been returned to me and are still missing." End quote. This case is so interesting to me because I find so many conflicting accounts. The father, obviously, there is something suspicious there because there is nothing consistent with any of his stories, but I also think it is important to mention that I read in more than one publication that both Zubbers and Skelton's families didn't believe John was responsible. I'm assuming this has definitely changed over time, especially with Tanya's statement. It is just super sad, as all these cases are. I mean, these boys had so much life ahead of them, and I would love to hear that one day they turn up, or at least that their bodies are located so that their family and friends can put them to rest. You know, my heart goes out to everyone involved. Over 14 years with no answers is an extreme amount of time. It is also frightening that if their father did do something to them, he is about to get out of prison. It's going to happen. But there also isn't enough proof against him to keep him in prison. I also do want to mention that I find it extremely odd that John Skelton was arrested for unlawful imprisonment. The reason I find it strange is because I could not find a source that really described why those charges were brought about. So I feel like there may be something, I don't know, that isn't out in the open, because like I said, you can look at all my sources down below. Unless, I mean, I could have missed it. It happens, but it seemed like all of them skipped from, you know, him being in the hospital to him being charged to him getting his sentencing. It just kind of skipped right over it, and it was kind of interesting to me. I would like to find out more information about why. It could just be because of, you know, what his house looked like, his changing of stories, and his phone pings, but I'm just not really sure. So I know that was a shorter video, but I saw this case come across my computer the one day when I was doing research, and I knew I had to talk about it. Like I said, I don't typically talk about children, but there are so many missing kids in this country, this world, and the more we talk about them, the more likely it'll be that they will be located, or, you know, some information will come about. And so I felt like it was important to talk about it. With that being said, that is the disappearance of the Skelton brothers, and all I have for you today. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on your post notifications so you do not miss any future content. Should you have any case suggestions, please send them to killerconceptsvlog@gmail.com or comment them down below. All of my sources are down below in the description box, as well as all of my social handles, so make sure to follow me on those. Before you go, just remember that the world's most dangerous minds hide in the most unlikely places. Stay safe.